absolutely. So in today's world with the internet, you can pull up the strokes and the past performances. So Dave can pull up our performances against each other, and it would sort of look like this. Oh, Roger Gunn, 138. Dave Hobby, 137. Scrolling to different tournaments, Roger Gunn, 142. Dave Hobby, 138. So down and down and down the list. We played a lot of golf together. So please forgive my bad voice. I was sick last week and still dealing with it. So, but the first thing I wanted to say was what an honor it is to be teaching with such a fine young instructor as John. It makes me very optimistic about the future of golf to see this kind of diligence and ever searching for knowledge and like what it's all about. And so I feel I'm in a sort of a unique spot because I was back in the old days as well, and now moving into new technology, so I get to sort of bridge that gap, I guess. Back in the day, if you didn't like your 2-iron, there's the basket of balls right there, range is right over there. Go get to work and you'll figure it out, okay? So that was kind of where we were. We didn't have strike angles, and half of us thought if you were hooking the ball, you're over the top, and all of those sorts of things. So information is so much better, and you can see where the quality of play is that much better too, on the whole. So one thing I was going to say about the short game, by the way, because there are so many shots around the green, it's almost indescribable. And so what I've always felt, and short game's a little bit unusual, especially for the good player, because you take a shot that's of medium difficulty and hit it to 5 or 6 feet, it doesn't stand out to you that that was not a good shot. But the expert short gamer might chip that shot to 2.5 feet or 3 feet, which is a giant difference. And so the thing that I see, especially young players do now, is that they'll use their lob wedge absolutely everywhere. I'm in my 4th decade of teaching right now, and I've seen one player, pro, amateur, whatever, one player that I've ever seen take a lob wedge and was what I would call good at it. Good at it. Not just like, okay, I mean really like, we got an easy shot, it's stone dead. We got a medium difficult one, still pretty good. And just kind of across the spectrum with all different shots, running shots, shots that you need to stop and whatnot. It can be done. It can be done. I mean, Jordan Spieth is a phenomenal short game player, and he uses lob wedge everywhere. But part of that is, if you've ever played in a PGA Tour event, the green's just slightly harder than that cement right there and super fast. So the opportunity to take like a 7-iron and bump and run would be pretty rare, actually. But for tournaments like you played yesterday at Encino, where the greens might be kind of shaggy and slow, I see the young players really struggle big time because they'll try to fly that thing all the way across the green because it's so slow. They might take a really easy shot and leave it, 15 feet short on a shot that should be stone dead almost every time. And so in my world, what I like to do is get the ball on the ground and running as soon as conditions will let you. Okay, so there's a couple reasons. So let's say I'll create my own target then. So I'm gonna go farther than that, so sorry. Okay, so if I've got a shot like that, and let's say the green started right here. So I'm right next to the green. I got a lot of choices that I can do. So you might find with hitting a shot like this that hitting it outside of about 3 or 4 feet is not really a very good shot. So it's a pretty easy shot. Maybe it's very straightforward like that. I can just get it on the ground and running. So my target that I need to land it on is right here. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty deadly from here to there. I can hit that spot. And if I take the straighter face club, I now know what it's going to do. Also, it's going to run every time, 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000. It's not going to hit some soft spot and jump up in the air. So when you are hitting a shot with carry and spin, you now become subject to how fast, how hard the green is. And so you don't know how hard the green is really, and there's no way to tell until after you hit. So you've got a factor that you can't control. And so let's say now that, I'm gonna take a little walk out here. So let's say with my lob wedge, I've got to land it way over here. Probably here. That's where I got to land it. So let's say I hit a shot that lands here instead. Not an awful shot. That is not an awful shot. I missed it by 5 or 6 feet. So let's say that I also misjudged how firm it was, and it was softer than I thought. So now I landed that 5 or 6 feet shorter. It stopped sooner than I thought, and now I've got 9 feet on that shot. That is an awful shot. I just hit a terrible shot, but I didn't really hit a terrible shot. I got a terrible result. So we don't want to have a situation where you hit an okay shot and get a terrible result. We don't want that. So putting that predictability in there can be very useful, especially on any kind of slow greens. Now again, if they're brick hard and fast, like rolling hills, I've seen rolling hills get like that. It might be a little different circumstance, but that's what I've found over the years. And it allows me to transfer from one course to the next pretty easily, just trying to get that thing on the ground and running, okay? So, all right, so the subject matter here is that sort of mid-range game with the wedges. And I have two very interesting subjects here. Both of them are quite accomplished players. Emily here is a very experienced tournament player and a beautiful swinger, as you're soon going to find out. Aiden over here is also a wonderful player and sort of finding his feet because he's so powerful. So we have someone who has a lot of snap speed, and we have someone who's more sort of casual, if you will, with acceleration. That's how I was. I didn't have power like he had. And so for me, I always felt that it helped me a little bit with these kinds of shots, that I wasn't, exploding into the ball. Usually I find for this type of shot, we're looking for kind of a casual nature, about a 5 or 6 on a 1 to 10. So we're not looking for an 8 when we're popping these shots from 40, 50, 60 yards, that kind of thing. So the elements we're going to be looking at here are going to be the size of the swing, the amount of acceleration that you give it, and the delivery. So the size of the swing is going to affect how much power is going to be had in terms of hitting the golf ball. So smaller swing, of course, all things being equal, to hit it shorter. Bigger swing is going to hit it a little bit farther. So we need to be able to find the right size every time for the shot that we're trying to hit. And I'll show you a really good way, a sort of tried and true way that we can do that. The amount of acceleration is very important, because if I take my good size swing and go ahead and pop it one time and I go slow the next time, that's going to have a different varying in terms of the distance it goes. And then the delivery is very, very important. So for me, a full lob wedge might be sort of 80 yards. But with the same speed, I could easily hit that roof over the head with a lob wedge at the same speed, just a way different delivery. So this shot here might fly, 10 yards versus the one that goes 80. That's just a matter of delivery, okay, even without a different speed. So as I work with these players, we're going to talk about dialing in the speed. And for the guidelines here, inside of 100. So what is your full sand wedge swing, Emily? How far do you hit a sand wedge? Just comfortable. 70? Okay. That's fine. So usually this shot I'm going to show is about 60, 65% of a full shot. Okay. Aiden, what about you? Sand wedge? 110, yeah. Okay, so, and we'll see, for someone like you who's got that kind of power, a half wedge shot that's going to go 95 maybe isn't going to be so helpful. We need to be able to hit sort of 40, 50, 60 consistently. So it'll be interesting to watch him go through this. But we're looking for plus or minus 3 yards inside of 100, plus or minus 3, okay? So if you're varying away from that very much, you need to roll up your sleeves and get to work. Now, actually on the tour, it's like 5 yards really, but I like to narrow that down just a little bit and make that a little bit tighter. So that's what I'm looking for. As far as club head speed, which is one thing we're going to be watching, I want plus or minus 2 miles per hour. So if your swing for your half swing shot goes 60 miles an hour, I want you to be able to hit between 58 and 62. Okay, so this kind of gives us a guideline of where we are. And if you didn't have the technology, it doesn't take very long to hit this shot and kind of figure out how far it's going. You just needs about 5 or 6 shots to a short target there, and just kind of feeling the swing. And I'll get into that just right now. So I like to do it kinesthetically. I used Dave Pelz's method for many, many years as a touring golfer. And that was 7:30, 9 o'clock, 10:30. But I found that it let me down in a couple of key areas where I really needed it. And so I started to kind of search away from that, especially the shorter ones. So trying to get any kind of distance out of a backswing that far didn't seem to match up too well to try to do that and make a big follow through. So I went to just eyeballing it for a while. I went away from that pretty quickly because the visual representations on the course can be very different. The bunker might be way short of the green. They might even have a bigger flag on certain holes. So that didn't work for me at all. So what I did is I started to use it kinesthetically by feel, and that was when I started to feel a stretch. So when I felt a stretch, that was my half swing. And so that was something I could find easily, like right off the bat. And it was something I can work off of, which is what we'll do with these players too, is we'll start to get like where the half swing is and see how I would teach someone this shot. And then we'll start to vary it in terms of the delivery of the club to create different flights and different shots too, okay? So that's what we're after here. So Emily, let's grab your sand wedge here. That's probably your lob wedge, huh? Yeah, so we'll go with that one. Jason, somebody needs a new lob wedge.
Oh,
okay. All right, so let's have you come on over here, Emily, and we'll go. So we're just going in the direction of that flag that's straight away there. And what I want you to do is I don't want you to try to hit this a certain distance. I want you to just hit it and try to go back to where you feel a stretch in your sort of your lat there on the side. Yep. And we're going to hit just a handful of shots and try to get sort of a baseline of where this is going to be. Yeah, so that's a beautifully compressed shot. So we're looking at club head speed there. Yeah, and so exactly like you said, John. Where's John? He went away from it. Okay, so exactly what he said is that with the sand wedge that I found, the club head speed and the distance are very close to one another usually. So Emily delivered that with a 1.01 smash factor, which is very solid. Like you really put your club on the ball right there, which is great. So Lee Trevino would look like that, one of the best wedge players of all time. So he would deliver it kind of like that. When it comes to club path and face to path, when it comes to these shots, you might see rather high numbers. In fact, numbers that with a driver you'd flip out. That it might be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It might be way up there. Don't let that bother you. Okay. So.
I'm kind of curious because that's one thing I've seen with working with players with wedges. Mm-hmm. They have a higher club path than they do with drivers and everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, so usually, I mean, it's catching it earlier on the circle, basically, yeah, which can help you trap it a little bit more, and that's going to put the path a little bit more inside out. And so, who was it? Mike Bender, I think, came with Zach Johnson's numbers. So Zach was 10 degrees inside out, and the face 9 degrees close to the path. So it's starting 1 degree right. It was quite a low ball flight, and trapping it in there with a little baby draw. And of course, he was one of the best at that shot. And so let's continue, Emily. So that's good stuff right there. You're doing your best to make the same swing. So if you feel like you mishit it or that you didn't make the swing, then just let us know. It's okay. It's all right. Do it again.
Again, she's looking for the stretch.
Yep. To just feel where that stretch is. Yeah, so almost identical club head speed right there. And so just a slight bit of a different contact was all. So she caught it a little bit in the heel. So the yardage was down just a hair. So already I'm starting to think that speed-wise, it's gonna be in the high 50s somewhere, which is what I would expect. That's perfect, okay? So go ahead and hit a couple more now. Okay, just caught it again on the heel. Try again.
So Roger, this is a perfect example right here, right? You're just trying to get her one thing to do is feel the stress, but when your student starts, doing something like that, and you stay calm, you stay like.
Well, I mean, I would just, like if she does it once or twice more, I would start to put something out there. So, I mean, I don't think that's a shot that shows up for her very much, but we'll see how it goes. So beautiful little baby draw action right there. It did look a little slower. Did it feel slower to you?
Yeah, it
Okay.
did.
So that's what I'm saying is that you want to kind of keep a pulse on how you felt when you were swinging it. So at the 1.02 smash factor, she caught it that little bit more solid. So it was a hair farther than the one before it, even though the one before it was faster. So we're just kind of keeping a pulse on how solid she's hitting it and how big she's swinging it. And that looked perfect right there. So there's our club head speed right at 57 again. 1.01 on the smash and 58, yeah. So this is, I could almost at this point walk away and go, well, that's your half shot. That's about how long it takes to learn. It's not this giant long process. So you're gonna be right in the ballpark with that one every time. So that's really good stuff, by the way. So I'm very much enjoying how she's hitting those. I'll never forget watching, there was a celebrity thing, if you will, in Europe. The pro players were Greg Norman, Lee Trevino, Bernard Langer, and Tom Watson. So Norman, who was a tremendous driver of the ball, hits this giant drive down a short par 4, and he had about 110 to the hole. So he takes this shot and just launches it 9 miles in the air, comes down on the front of the green, backspins off the green. And I was like, that wasn't really a very good shot. Trevino comes through next. His drive is this high. It's a bullet down the fairway. Bounce, 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 bounce. Ends up right where Norman's drive was. He takes this shot. He played it just like Emily. Just boom, this little low draw. Went right through the flag. Boom. Goes to about 8 feet by. Rolls back to this far from the hole. Looked like he could have done it 1,000 times in a row. No problem. It was so easy. So this is reminding me of that. Give me a couple more, Emily. Yeah, it's just a beautiful action. So a little bit stronger swing on that one, 59.6, but we're still within a couple miles per hour. And so I'm thinking, and you guys can add your feedback too if you want, but I'm thinking it's going to be sort of around 58 yards is going to be a half shot for her, okay? And so that one, like I say, swung just a hair harder. I mean, I think you're going to be around 57, 58 miles per hour, okay? So it's important to know that for these players who have access to technology is because you can check and see how you're doing. Like, where's my half shot these days? Oh, there it is, just perfect, just like normal. Oops, I'm swinging it a little bit bigger these days. Take it easy. We're trying to keep on top of that. So, okay, so let's now take a shot here, and I want you to hit me one that goes 65. Now, the way we're going to do this is you're going to go a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. I want to emphasize subtlety here, okay? Now, this is why when I do this shot, I'll make my half swing practice swing, even though I'm going to hit a longer one, because I want to stay tethered to where the basic swing is, and then I can work off of that in terms of my motion. Okay, so let's give it a go now. We're going to go a tiny bit bigger and a tiny bit stronger. So you did it perfectly with your swing speed. 63.7, so that's tremendous. So that's within a yard and a third. Fantastic. So this is ultra elite right there when you're able to do that. So you did exactly what we asked you to do. You upped your swing speed by 2 or 3 miles per hour, and there you got your extra yardage. Fantastic. That was wonderful. Okay, so let's do it again like that. Same thing. Just a half a click bigger, half a click stronger. And this is where your practice will come in. So there you are at 62 miles per hour, 1.04. You hit that super solid. Yeah, so there were about 4 yards past. So, and again, that's absolutely in the ballpark. We want the plus or minus 3. What we really, really don't want is we're 10 yards short on this shot or 15 yards long. That's when we really start to hit a snag. You know, so she was for, you know, her to me for in terms of past the hole. So it's still a very, very good shot. Excellent job. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go the other side of the spectrum here. So I'm going to want 52. So now we're going to go a little bit smaller on the backswing and go a little bit lighter at it. Again, I want to emphasize subtlety issue, just barely taking a little bit off of it. So speed-wise, we'll be looking for around 53, 54 when she does this. You caught it a little heavy? Okay. On a mat, sometimes that won't kill you, but so speed-wise, you did great. So 55 miles an hour, you lowered that speed, and wonderful. What do we want, 50, oh, 52? Okay, yeah. So go ahead and do it again.
Still asking her to feel the stretch.
It's yep, just backing off of that just the tiniest bit. So, you know, so you're sort of in the ballpark of the size. It's clean there. Yeah, so there she nailed the yardage or the speed exactly. So yeah, so there it is again, just about within a yard almost, right? So beautiful, Emily. By the way, that's very impressive, very impressive. Okay, so let us grab now your lob wedge, and I want you to make your half swing with that one. Okay, so go ahead and grab your lob wedge. I would say of all the shots I teach people, this is the one they enjoy the most. It's very easy to teach, as you see, especially when you have an accomplished player like this, and super effective, all right? So let's give it a go with our lob wedge here, and we're looking for your half swing again. And so I'd be expecting same kind of thing, 57, 58 miles per hour. So back to your half swing motion. .58. And we're just kind of seeing how far it's going to go. So a smash factor of 0.95 with the lob wedge is pretty high. So that's why it had that little extra distance of 55 yards, where we're looking at sort of 58-ish with the sand wedge. But go ahead and hit it again. So at 59.5, that one's going to be probably up there pretty good. 0.91, yeah, 50, yeah, okay. So you see how the smash factor kind of plays into the mix there, that she caught it a hair differently. Yeah, and created a beautiful shot there, about 52 yards. I think that what I would be seeing there is that speed-wise, that one might have been a little high. So I would expect the speed to be more like 57, 58. And I would expect the smash factor to be like 0.92, 93, something like that, which would give us about the 52 yards, somewhere around there. So we're really sort of dialing in the ballpark there. So let's do it again. And there we are at 58.9. There's our 0.95 smash. Yeah, you'd be 55. So my antenna would be up a little bit for the lofts on the wedges. You know, is there maybe they're a little bit close to each other. So for me personally, my half swing lob wedge is 49. I have a 60 degree. My sand wedge is 60. It's a 56 degree. My gap wedge is 77, and my pitching wedge is 95. Okay, so that's my half swing yardages with my wedges. So you might look at 95 and go, 95, what are you talking about? Why would you do that? So because I could take my lob wedge and trap it like crazy and maybe get that. I could certainly get that out of my sand wedge. I could easily get that out of my gap wedge. Why would I do it for the pitching wedge? So maybe I've got a little bit of an uphill shot. Greens are a little soft today. It's a little into the wind. So when I go ahead and hit that hard sand wedge to get it there, I'm fixing my ball mark right next to the hole, and my ball is all the way down the mountain 30 yards short of the green because it came ripping off the front edge, okay? So I want to be able to have something that comes in dead. And so when I hit a pitching wedge that easy, it's low in flight and lots lower spin, and so it becomes a lot more controllable into the wind, okay? Yes?
So, you're talking about, the smash factor, obviously there's more centerness of hit. And I just noticing from here, and I've probably seen it too, where she's hitting the ball over there more towards the heel of the club.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that's where a couple of those shanks came in. When is that gonna start? When you start addressing that, especially when you're talking about smash factor, right?
Oh.
You gotta get the smash factor right.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that is trending a little bit toward the heel. I'm more focused on what the overall numbers are. But if that was a thing where it's like, okay, she started to hit a couple more of those, then I might address, just feeling like it's staying in a little bit. I would double check her distance from it and all that. So there's nothing that jumps out at me technique-wise that's giving me concern. Okay, so now this is where it gets kind of fun. So let's see what we can do here. Let's go back to your sand wedge for this next shot, okay? And so in terms of swing speed, she's super elite. In terms of delivery, also very, very good action in terms of the shot. So if you didn't know anything about Emily, you'd say, well, this is probably the best wedge player around. So maybe a little more practice in dialing these in and you will be, all right? So on this next one, we're gonna stay with our half swing, and I want you to move the ball a little back in your stance and lean that handle a little bit forward. And we're gonna see if we can trap it just a little bit more. This will give us a lower flight, if you will. Yeah, so there's the higher smash factor there. And what were we on, 58 with the other one there? So that's about 67. So with a pretty similar swing speed, maybe a couple miles an hour faster, there she is at 67. Now, there's the longer flight with a little bit lower flight on the shot there, but that one will still have some spin. So it's not like taking something off of the gap wedge where it might not spin as much. So very well done, by the way. Let's go ahead and see that again. Yeah, super. So almost identical speed. And there's, like you see the smash factor going up because of the way she's orienting it. So again, that's 67. So now you're starting to see different sort of go-to yardages where it's like, oh, I know that that I can hit my sand wedge, trap it, and it's going to fly this far. Now we have to read the conditions, obviously, to, do I want to fly it at the hole that far? Maybe not. Maybe I need to land a little bit short. But at least you can hit your yardage. So was Greg Rose at TPI was talking to me about the different wedge players. So, and the different shots they had. They said that the least amount of shots somebody had inside of 100 was 12 different shots. That was the least amount they had. The most was Vijay Singh. He had 35 different shots. Okay, so we're just giving Emily just a little window into what that's like. So now let's say that we want it a little bit higher and softer with this club, but we don't want to go all the way to the lob wedge. So now we're going to move it a little forward in your stance from normal and open the blade just slightly, and we'll go ahead and hit our shot again. So right on the speed for that. The smash factor, just that hair lower. And again, we're going to see, you would see over time so the real distance for that club might be sort of 61 too, somewhere around there. So that's where practicing and dialing it in is so important. But that was good. Try it again. So let's see if we can put it even a half a click more forward in your stance and let it sit open a little bit. Yep. So speed-wise, you're doing well. So Emily likes to trap it, obviously, a little bit with these shots, so we're still getting a little bit of extra distance out of that. But you can kind of dabble with that. Just make sure, Emily, when you set it that way, that that's how it's going to return as well. So don't let yourself turn it back to closed, okay?
You're not asking her to have any different angle of attack on any of these different shots, right? Same
No.
angle of attack.
It's going to change, I think, with the, because you notice how the angle of it, we have angle of attack on there? No. No, we didn't have it on there. But as she moves it forward, it's going to be more shallow.
Right.
And as she puts it back, it'll be
Other
more
than
back.
that,
Yeah.
You're not asking her to manually do that.
Right. Yeah, so see if you can set that blade and just return it that way, Emily. So you might have mishit that slightly, huh? A little bit fat. So there's a little bit slower speed there. Yeah, so we got 46. I think that's just because it was slightly mishit. Try it again, though. I think you're on the right track there. And there's 56 with 9.4. Yeah, so about 50 yards. So this is, again, this is why you can practice these a ton to dial it in. So clearly you got, a little less than our 58 yards that we were getting with the fuller one. I think you're doing extremely well with these. And there's sort of our center of our face there, huh, Randy? Those last few shots. So, but this is how you go about the protocol. So you have your half swing for your different wedges. What is that number? Then again, the goal is plus or minus 3 yards. The goal is plus or minus 2 miles per hour of club head speed, and delivery. So you're seeing how the delivery is. That's where that smash factor comes in with the TrackMan, and how those sort of blend each other to create the different distances, and then working off of that to change how you want the ball to react exactly on the greens. So what was the shot I had? It was sudden death in a match play situation against Tim Perun, who's a great player. So I had a tiger by the tail. He had knocked it in pretty close, and I needed to hit a good one in there. And so I think I had 74 yards to the pin, and it was into a slight breeze. And I think the green had enough firmness where I didn't want to land it right at 74. I wanted to land it at like 72. And so I took my gap wedge, which was my 77-yard club. I wanted a hair coming in low, so I put it back just a little bit, which means I had to swing a little slower still because it was going to go a little bit farther. And that's how I hit the shot, and I was able to get it in there with him on that hole. But that's a real life example of like how to read the conditions. What do I need this ball to do up there by the hole? And then I can adjust in terms of the different wedge shots, what shot to play. Let us hit your gap wedge now. And we'll go back to our stock, normal half swing. Yeah, good stuff. So we're on 60.4, we're right in the ballpark with our club head speed right there, 74 yards. Very well done. Notice how obviously the smash factor is going up because of the different loft of the club. Very good job there, Emily. Same thing. Isn't it amazing how consistent she is with her club head speed? Just giving it that cue. And I've definitely found this, is that when you use it kinesthetically, it seems to dial in just a little bit better than just position. I think that with the other method I used, where I was just doing it by position, I kind of felt like if I didn't hit my position, I'd panic and do something on the way down. So when I felt it, it's been very good. I've used that method for, 25 years probably, to do it that way. So it's a very, very consistent way to go about it. Fantastic. Can you grab did you bring your pitching wedge over? I just told you to bring your gap
no,
wedge. Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, so let's do this now. So we got a back pin, and we need to skip it back to the pin. And we need to land this thing 78 yards and going a little bit. So we're going to put this a little back in the stance. We're going to trap it in there a little bit lower. You're going to need a couple more miles per hour probably, so tiny bit stronger, and trapping it in there a little bit lower, okay? Boy, is that beautiful. So it was, look at this, 2 miles an hour faster. Yeah, so 82.3, we're looking for 78, but on a, yeah, that's perfectly wonderful and acceptable, you know, in terms of, if you can imagine now, and so this is where I say to my kids that I teach, you're gonna need to do this for 1 hour per week. 1 hour per week of this shot with the different wedges. In the summertime, you do it 2 hours per week. 2 hours per week. So that it is so dialed that you just look at any shot. So for me, like when you made the comment about 50 yards, what an awkward shot. I couldn't care less. Give me 40, 50, 60, I don't care. It's all the same to me. Once you dial it in and get the method down, it's pretty easy to do. And so, but when they're super high tuned with that, now it's a whole different world. So you're knocking that thing in stone dead to the hole. That was very well done. All right, so any questions on that, what we've done with Emily? Yeah, we got a bunch of them.
Yeah, cool.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Any question?
I'll make up one. I know, I'm just scratching my butt. I did have one question actually about wrist hinge. Do you keep consistent with wrist hinge on that in the backswing and trying to set the L, or do you less, more for any?
Great question. So I will take some players who have an acute wrist angle and say we need to make this a little more dead, because we're not looking for a single pendulum would be like this, right? This is also very much like a single pendulum. This is a double pendulum where it's going to have a lot more snap speed. So we're not looking for a lot of that when we hit the golf shot. We're going to see with Aiden how, you know, he's strong as a horse. So, but we'll see what happens in terms of the loading and snapping of it. So I will take someone like that and say, okay, I need you to tone down the wrist break a little bit. We don't want so much speed as that. Or if we have someone who's maybe having trouble with contact because they're too much that way, then I'll say I need a little angle in there so you can get some angle of approach into the ground.
Yeah, on the point of the, your half swing and the feel, getting the feel, you went from position to feel, and kind of going with what John's last statement was about the whole feel and real thing. I know for me personally and for a lot of my students where that stretch feels. So like, you know, asking Emily here, so what, you talked about that stretch, right?
Yep.
That the next day to get that same stretch feel, you feel like you have to do a little bit more, and the next day do a little bit more because that
I
feel
think,
of that stretch.
yeah, I mean, we're not robots. Excuse me. And so I think that just watching her performance, she's very good at it. I mean, she looks like, you know, boy, she's done this for 3 years. That's why she's so good at it. It took her 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, to just dial it right in. Now, if I have someone who, it's like, well, how far do you hit your full sandwich? 100. Okay, give me your half swing. And it's 97.4 yards. You go, okay, hold on. Figure out a way to get this a little bit lower. Maybe we need to feel like rib cage and just kind of cut it down a little bit if they're just used to just going smack, you know, and hitting it, that kind of thing. So, and I have had that with players where I'll say, I need you to feel like you have no wrist break when you swing. And then they swing, and of course it looks like this. So then I show it to them, you know.
Like say the half swing today, and then tomorrow they think they're doing the same half
Well,
swing.
again, I personally, just from a long time of doing this, I don't find that's a problem. I don't find the person rolls out of bed the next day and hits it 69 miles per hour out of nowhere. I haven't found that to be the case, you know. It's kind of like, you know, looking across the golf course and you go, is that Raj? And then I swing and you go, yeah, that's Raj. So, you know, it kind of looks the same in terms of how they're going about their business. So I haven't found that to be a concern. You had a question?
What if you're dealing with somebody who they are unable to feel? Whether it's a limitation, or in John's example, somebody failed to tell him that he got hit by a bus?
Yeah. Well, and that's information I would hopefully have in asking, is there anything, what hurts, is there anything that's going on? Again, and I can't even imagine how many people I've taught this to. I haven't found that to be a problem, where the person's just all over the place. They can't find any sort of consistent speed.
Would you
And
phrase it differently, or if they're a visual person, would you switch to that? And if you're saying, right, half swing, then you go, can you get, parallel to the ground, and then you physically show them?
yeah, and so for me personally, I found that having the actual feel in my body of where it was helped me to hit that position. But I think it's incumbent on us as teachers, where you have to be light on your feet, where if someone it's not resonating doing it, it's worked 50 times in a row with the previous 50 students, and this person can't do it at all. We have to be able to be light on our feet and say, all right, so Mrs. Jones, let's get you to kind of see what I'm doing right here. Just do that, And so you can absolutely do that, being light on your feet and making those adjustments for sure. Yeah. So, any other questions? Okay. Wonderful, Emily. Very impressive. Okay. Very impressive. So you have some good tools to be a very good wedge player. All right, Aiden, you ready? Let's start with your sand wedge. You carry a 54 or 56?
54.
Mm-hmm. When he said that, and knowing how far Aiden hits it, my initial reaction is, okay, we're going to see this thing half swing might be going 90 yards. So we're going to need to find a way to hit this thing 45 and clean. Maybe. We'll see. But that's just where my mind goes. So, all right, so the flag out there, and what we're going to look for here is for you to do just like Emily did. You're going to try to go back to where you feel a stretch. Okay, and that's going to be where your half swing is. I want the acceleration to be like a 5 on a 1 to 10. So we're not trying to smash it. Okay, so let's go ahead and cruise a few out there and see what happens. So if you have technology, you can be looking at the numbers. If you don't have technology, you can have them hit to a sign or whatever and kind of see where it's landing. Yeah, so if you notice the 113 smash factor right there because of the way he played it, so he trapped it a lot, okay, with the handle well forward. And so we're going to watch a handful of shots and just see how he does this. About 57 miles per hour. Was the previous one 62? Is that right? Yes, we're on 71 there.
And again, you're asking him to feel the stretch.
Yep. And now I'm just seeing how far it's going to go. So that shot that he played right there is a very effective, wonderful shot. You can play a lot of wedge shots like that if the conditions will allow you. Now, sometimes you get on a golf course and you're like, that's not going to hold any green. So you have to just kind of go, and well, I'll show him how to hit a little higher too, in addition. But you hit a couple more there, bud. Yeah, it can be a very good way to play wedge shots right there, that real trap draw. Now, one thing in terms of watching out in terms of spin characteristics, when you trap it that much with the handle that far forward, it hits well up on the face. You see how high that is on the face right there, which can compromise a little bit the amount of backspin that it's going to be hit with. So just so I don't pass over that too quickly, gear effect, vertical gear effect, if you hit it low on the face, the club will do that, and the gear effect of the ball, it'll spin it more. So that's why if you hit it a little bit lower on the face, it spins more. You hit it up on the face does that, ball rolls the other way, takes off some of the spin. So you have to watch out in terms of not getting too many jumpers like that. What I would say to Aiden on that is I would say, try to see if you can hit me one on the second groove from the bottom. So in other words, which again, I'd have to watch out because he's trapping it so low as it is, but I just want to see if he can do that. See if he can do that for me there. You're going to hit it a little bit lower on the face, okay? So you're going to feel like you're not smacking the ground quite so much. Ooh, that was really good. Yeah. so that he brought it down on the face. Very well done. And we're seeing again, you know, his ability to hit the speed that we want is also very good. And so yeah, I think his high end was 62 miles per hour. There we are at 59, right about where those next couple were after that first one. So it's very, very good speed control right there. And so grab your lob wedge for me. So we're kind of seeing that his half swing sand wedge, with the way he's delivering it, is going to be around 67 to 70 yards, okay? So this is a little far. I want to see how this one goes, and then we'll kind of adjust from there. Same thing, normal half swing shot here. So 1.08 smash on a lob wedge, again, is very high. So now we're at 65. Pretty similar distance, club head speed there. So give me another one like that. And again, 58.1, he's right on the same thing. 1.06, again, is pretty high for the lob wedge. So, you know, I think that somewhere around low 60s is going to be the number with that. And so what I would do with someone like Aiden is add a different shot. So we're going to see here, what I want you to do on this next one here is I want you to move the ball a tiny bit more forward in your stance. And I want you to envision that when you hit this, that the shaft is not forward at all. You're going to deliver it straight up and down, okay? And we're going to see what that does with his impact. So we're not trapping this one hardly at all. Yeah. So now I'm looking at the speed. Speed is comparable. Yeah, so now I got 58.5, okay?
This is a half swing with 50% effort.
Uh-huh, yep. Kind of, like I say, for him, if he hit a driver for you, you'd fall out of your chair. So he's got a lot of acceleration. So for the high club head speed player, it's always about sort of tempering that, like take it easy. There's a great player, I've worked on this shot with Kate Villegas, who plays on the Epson Tour and the WAPT, and she just clocks it. So when I asked her to hit this shot, she's like, okay, with like maximum compression. It's like, take it easy, okay? So that was really well done. So let's do that same thing again, okay? Yeah, so we're at 54.5, so that's a little bit slower in terms of the speed it was delivered with, so we're right on 52 right there. So, you know, for me, like I say, my half swing lob wedge is about 49. And so once I start to get to like 40, to me that's like a chip shot. I'm just looking at it. So I don't care whether it's 21 or 28 yards in terms of pacing it off. I don't do that. But that's just me. All of these things I'm talking about, if you get benefit from doing it a little bit differently, then for goodness sake, do that. You know, if it's like your money, I've got this one shot that I hit 52 yards every single time it stops on a dime. Great, beautiful, don't lose that shot. But like I say, if you find benefit from pacing off putts or pacing off your short game shots, go ahead. I don't care, as long as you're good at it and hit it close to the hole. So very well done. Okay, now we're gonna add a little twist here. So now we're gonna move the ball shade more forward and open the face just a bit, okay? And I want you to see if you can tap into the same swing that we just made, where you're really not trying to trap it very much, okay? So it's gonna feel like the handle is returning fairly straight up and down, not with a lot of shaft lean. You can hear that one spin, huh? So that was very well struck. So there's the lower smash factor, and there we got 46. So I'd be very pleased with that. So the speed, as you guys can see, is the same, but he delivered it differently, okay? And so you're kind of in a good situation right there, because you have really two kinds of shots. You can trap it or start to develop that little higher and softer one too. Yeah, but that's really good. All right, let's do it again.
Roger, where do you integrate video? Do you normally, like, you take someone, like, you doing for the first time, do you show, you're explaining the trapping, hand forward, shaft lean?
Well, and like I say,
Or some of the typical people that we deal with, right?
Oh,
Do you
absolutely.
automatically integrate video with this?
it depends, you know. I mean, if I think that they need to see it, where it's like, okay, you're really trapping it, and the person's like, what's that? You know.
Obviously, he's a,
Yeah, he's-
very well understands.
Yes.
swing. You just tell him what to do and he
Yes,
just does
right,
it, right? But
right.
for the typical,
Yeah.
we deal with.
Well, that's a cue I might use to somebody is I'll just say, look, I don't want you to move very strong into your front foot. I want you to just feel like it's returning with the handle just straight up and down, knowing that it'll have plenty of shaft lean, that it's not actually going to be straight up and down, you know, or vice versa. I might need someone to trap it a lot more, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, let's grab your, I know I didn't tell you to get it. Go grab your pitching wedge, okay? So for the extremely high clubhead speed player, trajectory and spin is a big deal. So we don't want him landing it by the hole and having it ripping back, you know, just because he can hit his lob wedge 105. We probably don't want him playing that shot. So we'll see how that translates here into his half swing pitching wedge. It's probably going to go 120-ish, I think, somewhere around there if we're in the ballpark. But in terms of this instruction, this is exactly what it looks like. I'm not changing anything at all with how I would teach someone this shot. It doesn't take very long to teach, as you guys can see. Okay, so we're going to tap into your half swing again and just hit it out there and we'll see how far it goes, okay? Let's use the one, so remember he's got a couple of ways to do it. He can really trap it or sort of not trap it. Let's go with the one where you don't trap it too much, okay? So as you can see, he's taking a lot off of that swing. He's at 62 right there. 91. So I'd be personally very happy about that he can dial it back that much. So let's do another one like that. That was great. Once again, I'd be watching a little bit how high that thing's hitting up on the face when he does that. '84, you missed that a little bit? I want to step in front of you for 1 second. I just want to watch it from down the line. Yeah. 64, 93. Yeah, so that's good. That's going to be a real quality shot for someone like Aiden who hits it so far. What would you normally use from 90 yards? Probably a lob wedge, right? Yeah, and so what I would say to someone like Aiden is you want to be able to hit that yardage, sort of 90 to 100 with all of them. Lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge, pitching wedge. Go roll up your sleeves and get to work. Okay, so you can dial that in. So you can choose which one you want to hit for the condition that you have. Because sometimes lob wedge like that is going to be awesome, perfect, great, love it. Other times it's like, no, I need this thing to not come roaring back at me after it lands. Okay, that's a really good motion right there. Any questions about that? Like I say, it's not really very complicated, is it? You know, it's a pretty simple concept, very easy to find the yardage, and it's great when you can do it with technology because you can see exactly how the speed is and look at the smash factor. Are we delivering it the same way? That kind of thing to dial in this shot. But it's a great one. I've used it for, like I say, many decades, and it's translated very well. So, Aiden, very well done. Very well done. Good students. All right. So, Randy, thank you very much. Are we good for time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any other questions about that?
Does this seem to translate to all levels of play?
It actually does, surprisingly. You know, I probably don't teach it enough to aspiring golfers that I maybe should, you know, to like, that can be very eye-opening though if you start out a lesson and just go, you know, before that, can you hit one and hit that 25-yard sign right there? Your hair will stand on end half the time, where it's like, okay, they can't fly it within 40 feet of the thing. So at that point, you might start off with a little bit of that, you know, to kind of throw that into the lesson. So a very good idea. Yeah. Thank you very much.